Welcome to the Windrush 70, and that's supported by the Heritage Lottery Fund. I am very pleased and very glad to have Victor Richards, who is an actor, poet, writer extraordinaire. So, tell me, where did it all begin?
Hey, it's a real pleasure to be here today.
Thank you.
Good. It began a long time ago, a very long time ago. Obviously, coming from the models, choreography, organizing of events, which took me to drama college, where from doing a fashion show called Fashion to the Ages.
Okay.
And it was always my dream to put it as a one-man play one day. It took about 10 years for me to figure that out. Drama college was inspirational for me to be able to transform this fashion show into a one-man play called Streets Paved With Gold. And that was just became one of 3 plays: Streets Paved With Gold, Return to the Caribbean, and True to First Generation.
Yes.
But Streets Paved With Gold has been the focus for the last 20-odd years or so, and it's taken me around the world, basically.
So can we go back a little bit further before you used to all of those things? So so were you born in this country of the UK? Where were your parents from?
Yeah, I'm first generation born here. My mother is from Barbados, and my father is from St. Vincent.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so now you know. Now you know.
And so when you got here, around what period was that?
I was born here.
Oh, you were born
I was born in the UK. Yeah,
and so then, so how was that growing up here?
I had an interesting childhood, because in those days, you know, it was very much a close community, with people going to church, and Sunday dinners were always family get-togethers, and excursions going to Blackpool and places like that. And
did you
christenings.
go to Margate? Did you
Margate, yes, I did that. You know, had to get there 6 o'clock in the morning. And yeah, my childhood was interesting, which I didn't realize how much it would influence my life. You know, just listening to the stories of our parents and grandparents, listening to their laughter, their jokes, and the food, the music. All these things inspired me. The clothes, the way they dressed, and the way they looked after each other and cared for each other. Next door neighbors, you can leave the front door open. Those things had a big impact on me.
So I'm picking up an accent. So where is the accent from?
Well, somewhere in the Midlands.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm from Leicester, but I was born in London.
Okay.
And eventually we went down to the Midlands, Birmingham, Warsaw, and eventually to Leicester in 1964.
So can I ask, so all that kind of influence, did that have an influence on you acting and performing and writing? Did that come from your parents? Where did that come from?
Yeah, well, my mother always told me my father's a brilliant dancer. And I think she, being a very beautiful woman, I think she entered a beauty competition years before. No, I don't know where it come from, really. There's not many people who I can identify in the family who did this, but and I, for one, didn't really have any real interest in the arts. I didn't go to dance school or anything like that. You know, I didn't have the money to do that sort of thing, you know, and sports and things. I didn't have a particular hobby. It was just something that came about because I wanted to do something with myself, and I realized I was good at my hands, I was good at creativity, good at thinking, and as a lonely child growing up, I had a lot of time to think.
So it's just you? Oh, wow.
Yeah, just me. I mean, I have brothers and sisters, you know, you know how it goes, you know, half brothers and sisters around the place, but to me, I was always with families, you know, always around families, and particularly at Christmas time and christenings. I had a lot of christenings and weddings in those days. So
they sound like good times.
No, to me, well, I can only reflect on the positive things. Even you know, the days when you had to go and collect the paraffin. You know, those cold winter days. Yeah, they were tough, but I see them as days to remember.
So were you allowed to go in the front room, though?
No.
That's where the telephone was.
That's it. You see, that's it. Yeah, on the lock and key. Yeah.
So can I ask also? So you said that So it's coming from you. This energy is coming from you to do all these creative things. So if you didn't study it when you were younger, what did you do to get into that field?
It's coming from me. It's coming through the experience of my life and the parents and the people around me. And I suppose I kind of like figured out going into the arts, going into mainstream, the EastEnders Casualty, and all those different opportunities I had in the early days. It felt a bit like a conveyor belt to me, and I didn't quite fit in. You know, your face don't fit, and I really wanted to do something, I suppose, as a legacy, and something that's a real contribution to the community, giving and taking, and again, Drama College gave me an opportunity to figure that out for myself.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So did the play that you wrote, Streets Paved With Gold, did that idea happen that time? Did it come to you then? Or was it much later?
It came, it was always there in the early days, but it was developing, as it were. But the time I got to Drama College in the last 6 months of the course, it was clear to me, because I had an idea 10 years ago with the fashion show, as I mentioned earlier, which was called Fashion to the Aged, which was basically showing our parents the clothes they used to wear, blue beat, ska, reggae, jazz, soul, and the grips and everything like that. So I had the idea, as you can see, but how to put it into a one-man show, and to move it around. You know, it's very difficult moving from theatre to day centres to Japan, and all the other things in between, you know, and then turn it into workshops for schools and colleges and universities, and then the story time. So what I want to make very clear here, though, because I think this is important, that people try to put me in all these different boxes. So
yes.
Really, I see myself as a storyteller.
Okay.
Basically, I'm a storyteller.
The best kind.
Yeah.
So what response were you getting from the one-man show? And obviously I know that you have the trilogy, and remind us again, so you have Streets Paved With Gold,
Return to the Caribbean, and Children of the First Generation.
So there's a book and a play,
yes,
and the workshops.
There's a book. This is the book I wrote 2008 called Poetry Trilogy.
Okay.
Basically, it covers all three plays, the stories of that. And I've got the album, Illusions, Streets Paved With Gold, which is a spoken word reggae flavour kind of a thing, and to get out to a wider audience, because you notice that it's nice going to the day centres, nice getting the families out, but there's a much wider, younger audience that I need to get out to globally that listen to music, and that's one of the ways that I do it now.
Can I also ask then, because there seems to be a lot of influences and you've kind of just soaked it all up to do what you do in your unique way.
Yeah.
So in the sense of Windrush, how much of the Windrush have you been influenced by? And I kind of also see that you're trying to continue the legacy of the Windrush through all of the things that you do.
Yes, it's very important, because that generation is fast disappearing, and young people that I come into contact with are asking questions, they're showing interest, they're very bright, they're very upward mobile, and I think it's important that people like myself and the community at large make sure that the information is there, stored for them to look at and find and research later on. Yeah. It's important, and working with the Cultural Archives in London as well is also very helpful. Something as simple as, like, our parents collect a lot of things over the years, and usually when they pass on, they usually get disregarded and put into the bin. And people need to know that if it's something it's very very treasurable, very important. It could be they were stamp collectors, or they collect beautiful things that they put in their cabinet, or records. The Cultural Archives would come and done a research, and they can store those things.
They have to keep all those glass fishes.
Yeah, so it just depends, but I think they have to know that they don't have to throw it all in the bin. You know, the cultural archives are there to help support and help to decide what to do. So my work is changing now. I'm not just performing, I'm communicating and working with different organisations such as the Cultural Windrush Foundation in London and a lot of other people that I work with.
I know some of the things, because again, it seems like you're very strong on continuing the legacy. So
Yeah.
I know that you started your VJ Productions. I know that you're working with a radio station in Birmingham.
Yeah.
What's the name of the radio
New
station?
Style Radio in Birmingham.
Okay.
There's a community radio station which is fantastic. They've given me sponsorship for the rest of this year, right up until June next year, you know, and that's free advertising every day. It's a new build, so they have space in there to do shows of all sorts, and you know, it's a fantastic opportunity to have their support.
So can I also ask, so if there's anything that you are really trying to hone, because obviously you work with children, you work with lots of different communities, you've done all this work.
Yeah, elders.
Yes, yeah. So what is that you have inside you that you're really trying to get across to people?
Unlimited passion, unlimited the legacy of our parents and grandparents, that they should never ever be forgotten for the work that they've done in coming here in the first place. True pioneers. And overcoming all the obstacles, you know, that they've had to. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here.
They've endured.
Yes, yes.
So I know that there's a wonderful video that you've actually created that will be shown, and I know that they're going to show it. So could you tell me just a tiny bit of why you did that again?
It's moving to a digital area now, and again getting to a wider audience globally, which I gather the Windrush is happening, and the stories wherever you go in the world are the same. People migrating from one place to another to look for work, to support their families back home. So the idea of doing the music video is just a way of expressing the importance of our parents. And the Black Caribbean experience is unique,
yes,
as opposed to any other.
Yes, that's correct.
In the world, you know. So I'm glad it was nominated for the British Urban Films Award.
I don't think you were going to mention that. I thought you'd been too humble. You have to mention that.
Yes, yes.
So you won the...
Well, I did one. I was nominated out of 220 submissions. They chose 39, and I was one. It's the first time I've ever put a music video. Great thanks to the wonderful film director. His name escapes at the moment. Solomon Gracia, who is fantastic vision.
Yes.
It was hard work, walking around London with all those scripts. You know, it took 6 months to plan.
Yeah.
We're both very busy men. Solomon is a fantastic director.
And thank you so much for being here today. I know there's so much more we could get into, so we're going to have to bring you back at some point. If people can get in contact with you, how would they get in contact with you? I know you've got your giveaway as well.
Yes, yes. If they want to contact me, they can contact me on my website, which is www.vjtheatre.net. That's www.vjaytheatre.net. Okay. They can give me a call, 077 868 53232. I'll do it to the camera. And I've got to a book.
Yes.
For competition, and the competition is and a couple of music spoken word videos. Anybody can tell me where did the Windrush boat land in the UK and the year.
Yes.
Right, I've got to be careful not to give it away.
No, I've been very careful.
Where did the Windrush boat land?
Yes.
That's give me the name of the boat and the year.
Yes.
Is that good?
No, that's good. That's good.
Right.
They have to do their research.
Okay, good.
Well, thank you so much for being here today. I really do appreciate it. And like I said, there's so much more we could discuss.
It is.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Before I go, I'll just like to say it's just something, a thought to remember a wonderful lady, Cheryl Phillips, who passed away not too long ago. She was inspirational, not just to the Windrush Foundation, but also to me
Yes.
as an artist, and many people who she brought across the board, different cultures, and she's always in our hearts.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you so much. That's very kind.
Thank you. They said, listen to the streets that was paved with gold. They said it's a story that's never been told. Dreamt of the high that touched the low. It's given them a passion for time. But within their hearts they felt their souls in the streets that was paved with gold. The winter's here, the faces there, create the feeling of despair. The labour shortage after the Second World War led to the 1948 British Nationality Act being passed, where child persons born in the Commonwealth countries and British colonies became British citizens and therefore had the right to enter, live and work in Britain along with their families. Looking for rental accommodation was just as difficult as finding a job. I had to walk from street to street looking. It was hard walking in those shoes, especially when you read such signs saying no Irish, no dogs, no blacks. Made me wonder what kind of country I come to. Man, I tell you one morning, I put on 3 pairs of socks, 3 pairs of underpants, my long johns, all of my jumpers and my overcoat and my chilly hats. Visited 10 rooms that morning, one I remembered very well. Had to climb 5 flights of stairs, and when I reached the top there was no carpet, the window was cracked, it was damp all over, the single bed with therapeutic marks and smelled bad. The owner said to me it was his best room, take it or leave it. I took one leg and headed back down the stairs. They said, listen to the streets that was paved with gold. They said it's a story that's never been told. Dreamt of the high that touched the low. It's given them a passion for time. But within their hearts they felt their souls in the streets that was paved with gold. The winter's here, the faces there, create the feeling of despair. Then I went back to Johnny's for another 6 months, a little small room, and I paid 30 shillings a week. Man, I tell you, that was a lot of money in those days. You see, most decent English people were afraid to let us lodge in their own homes. They had so many misconceptions. How can we embrace them? It was difficult getting into the British way of life. They said, listen to the streets that was paved with gold. They said it's a story that's never been told. Dreamt of the high that touched the low. It's given them a passion for time. But within their hearts they felt their souls in the streets that was paved with gold. The winter's here, the faces there, create the feeling of despair. That was where the idea of family worship and shebeens all began. See, there was nowhere for black people to go, no nightclubs or pubs in those days, so we had to create our own entertainment. The dance craze in the 50s was the waltz, the quick step, the tango, the ballroom jive. I remember telling Johnny, who I sail over with, singers, doctors, boxers and actors too. One day I said to Johnny, Johnny, what kind of work they got here, man? And he said, I got a lot of work here for bus conductors, factory workers, domestic services, hospital porters, nurses, stuff like that. I took one look at him, but I couldn't say nothing. You see, I always like acting myself, Shakespeare, Othello. They said, listen to the streets that was paved with gold. They said it's a story that's never been told. Dreamt of the high that touched the low. It's given them a passion for time. But within their hearts they felt their souls in the streets that was paved with gold. The winter's here, the faces there, create the feeling of despair. Said, listen to the streets that was paved with gold. They said it's a story that's never been told. Dreamt of the high that touched the low. It's given them a passion for time. But within their hearts they felt their souls in the streets that was paved with gold. The winter's here, the faces there, create the feeling of despair.